I'm being really naughty, you know. I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag slowly. But it's quite plain to see. Most people can figure it out. They all know, even the blind and deaf people know something's seriously wrong. But they're so ensconced in their own lowly and little mind that the thought of breaking out of it is terrifying to them. So they cling to their illusions like dog shit clings to a woolly blanket. Right. Ensconced. What a fantastic word. Right then. The game's been rigged from the get-go. There are beings that have been around for a very long time, and they know the truth. But they don't want you to know it, but they have to tell you it. They have to let you know what's going on. But rather than tell you directly by speaking in plain speech, like I do, they obfuscate it. They turn it upside down. They reverse it. But you've been trained to think and see and hear in a particular way. The way you understand language and the way they understand language are two different things. They have twisted everything. But your spirit knows the truth, because it is the truth. Your spirit is your consciousness. Now, people that wake up or are in the processes of being activated, they go through a period of, here's another good word, discombobulation, confusion. They go through a period of cognitive dissonance, which is where they're trying to maintain two belief systems or many belief systems that all contradict each other. And it's that mental fuckwittery that you've got to fight through. And the quickest and easiest way to circumvent all of that mental fuckwittery is meditation. And it's in meditation where the mind is put behind you. Get behind me, Satan, because the mind is not intelligence. Consciousness, the spirit, is. So when the mind's not there, the cup, the Holy Grail, is empty and it can be filled. And then you'll start to have these realizations and you'll start to understand. And it's a process. It takes time. Now, some of you have been listening to me, and not just me, I'm sure you've been listening to other people as well, which I recommend. I've got absolutely no problem with that because it will sharpen your discernment skills. I am well aware that some of you don't like me. That's fine. This is not a popularity contest. And you subscribe, and then you unsubscribe, and then you resubscribe. It always makes me chuckle. But nevertheless, these individuals, they've known the truth, but they've hidden it. So they've told you the truth, but they've hidden it. And they've made it a test for your mind. Because they don't want you to know. Now that's wrong. The universal law is do no harm. Now, but by obfuscating the truth, you're doing harm. Because people can't choose if they don't have the correct knowledge. If they don't understand where they are or what they are, then they cannot possibly make an informed decision. And the problem is that the mental landscape of 99% of humanity has not been informed, it's been externally formed by external influences. And this has been going on since the day you was born. Your parents have infected you with what they believed. You've inherited all their traditions. You've even inherited their genetics. And all of the genetic fuckwittery that they've inherited, you've got. But you can change genetic expression. You can repair all that. So that's the good news, okay? Now what they've done is that they've dumbed down the human population, and the human population, not knowing any better, has gone along with it. This is why the character Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do." Another factor is electromagnetic radiation. It fucks the brain up. It fucks the body's ability up to connect with nature. Okay? So all this Wi-Fi stuff and everything else that's going on around us is confusing the human biosphere. And they know all this. They know how it works, because these are individuals that were, how do I put this? In the last great cycle, they were the elect. And it was their job to guide humanity, to teach humanity the knowledge of good and evil so that they can eat from the tree of life, which is the sacred secretion. That was their job. But they decided, why should we do that? We could have this for ourselves for the entirety of the cycle. 25,920 years, all this will be ours. And if we keep them stupid, they can be our slaves. And we can live like gods in this physical reality. But they knew if they did that, they'd be cut off. But they did it anyway. Get it? All of the American presidents are related, with the exception of one, but I can't remember what his name was. So when people talk about, oh, Donald Trump, he's brilliant, or vice versa, Joe Biden or Barack Obama, they're all related. It's not politics. It's a fucking dynasty. It is a dynasty. And they're all related to the British royal family. If you look at who owns everything, if you look at, James just shared my video, James Brockhurst, thank you. If you look at everything that's owned, all the big companies, Microsoft, Apple, Sony, Pepsi, BP, Esso, Shell, all the big companies, the big corporations, they are all owned by two other companies, and it's called Vanguard. That's one, and Vanguard is an attacking force that the military use to pierce and attack the enemy's defences, to weaken them before the main body spills through. So you've got the Vanguard, and then you've got the main attack. And that's, so Vanguard is one of the companies, and the other company is called BlackRock. Okay? Now, BlackRock, listen, you need to understand symbolic speech. These names have meanings, so like BlackRock, if your pineal gland is not activated, if it's got no light in it, it is a black rock. That place is Sheol. It's a condition. Sheol is the ancient Hebrew word for hell. Alright? That's what it is. And these two companies own everything. But who owns Vanguard and BlackRock? Well, now you're getting into the nitty-gritty, because now you're getting into royalty. All of the big names. And some of them you won't know. Okay? They've been around for a very, very long time. And all of these secrets are taught and never passed on. And then a fucking moron like me gets woken up at 3:33 a.m. and I'm asked whose side am I on? Words to that effect, except it wasn't words. When I said at the time, stood there naked, not with you, I'm with God, not even knowing who that was and what God was. Didn't have a fucking clue. And here I am, a few years later, talking about all these things, because it's plain as day to me what's going on. It is as obvious as the nose in the middle of my visage. Everything they control, they own the banks. The banks pay the governments. Governments are in debt to the banks. That is the external manifestation of the synagogue of Satan. But the internal synagogue of Satan, it's a church, isn't it? There wasn't any churches back in the days of Jesus. There was only synagogues. There wasn't any mosques either, because Islam wasn't formed until many hundreds of years later. So there was only synagogues. So the synagogue of Satan is a church. So the church, it's this black rock, a pineal gland that is not lit up, is the synagogue of Satan. And they have given you their mind. That's what needs to be overcome. And when you look, there was a time when I used to think that I was Danny Benson and I was a soldier and I was fighting for Queen and country and my job was noble and I would put myself in danger to protect the rights and freedoms. Yeah? I was the right arm of the free world. Now, I didn't speak to myself in those terms, but that was the kind of patriotic, emotional-led horseshit. And yeah, they used to give us like uniforms that we could, fucking costumes, and we could put medals on them, fucking worthless trinkets. But when you get beyond all that nonsense, when you get beyond your name, when you get beyond relationships, now this might sound really bad, but this is the truth. When you get beyond all that, who are you really? You often read about people that just disappear. They up sticks and fuck off. They leave their family or whatever, they leave their job, they haven't told anybody anything, they've left their bank account, the only thing that's missing is them and their car. And they drive to another state or another country, and they might keep their name for documentation reasons, but they start a new life because the old one pinned them down. They didn't like it, and it was the only way they could get out of it. So, but this is bigger than that. This is about returning to the source, and the source is consciousness. But you still maintain your individuality. You merge with the source, but you don't lose your identity. You don't lose your individuality, your soul. This is why the character Jesus said, "What does it serve a man to inherit the earth?" This. But to lose his soul. You see? So, when you meditate, you are effectively presenting yourself to the universe. Why would you bother trying to hide anything? Do you see? It's like Noah's Ark. Bring on all the animals, like the domestic animals. That's your day-to-day thoughts. Bring on the creepy crawlies. We all know what the creepy crawlies are. Those thoughts that you don't want anyone to know. Well, the arc is meditation. And this you meditate. You go in there with everything. Not shuffling. The act of bowing down, taking a knee, is to put the ego behind you, to put the mind behind you. That's what that it's not submission. I don't think of it as submission. For me, it's a recognition that there is something far greater than I am that wants to help me be I am. Get it? And it assists me. But to do that, my mind has to get out the fucking way. So I put the mind away for a little bit. That's the charity, the arm. And I meditate. And then I come back and I've got my mind back. And I carry on. And a couple of days later, I have these realizations and these understandings and these epiphanies. And, and I can share it with others. So, but this leadership, this element, they've invented this entire system, and it's all lies. All of it. Everything. And the brain is a very fragile thing. It can be programmed. And anyone that's sat out there now listening to this that thinks that they haven't been programmed, really. Yeah. Go and sit in front of a mirror. Go and sit in front of a mirror for an hour. Don't look at the reflection. Look at a point behind the mirror. So let's say the mirror's in front of you. Focus on something behind it. You obviously won't be able to see it, but have your focus behind the mirror. Okay, and you think you recognize your face. You watch it change. These hallucinations, and you think reality's real. It is. It is to the five senses, but when you get beyond that, there's a lot more to it than you think. Okay? Isn't it interesting in the film Matrix when he touched it with his finger? That silvery, all kind of... Get it? Nothing is as it seems. Especially as far as the five senses are concerned. This is why the sixth sense plays the upper hand. The higher road. The only road worth taking. But it's a narrow path. Only you can walk it. Nobody is going to help you from the external. I can talk about these things until my fucking tongue falls out my head. But it will only help you when you do it. And then you can have the knowledge, and then the experience, and then you get wisdom. And it's really good. Now, they don't want you to know any of this. They've got people so tied down. Like religion has done a fucking brilliant job of being so utterly stupid that the modern man doesn't want anything to do with it. So when I say, look, let me explain it to you, and I might explain very briefly the story about the serpent and Adam and Eve and what it really means, and after about 30 seconds I've lost them, because their brains have become so addled. And to find somebody that actually listens and wants to respond is about 1 in 1,000. And there is fuck all I can do about that. It's not my job to do anything about that. Every time I meditate, I tap into the unified field, and it raises the consciousness. Every time you meditate, your consciousness raises, and it raises the bar higher in the unified field. This serves two purposes. It also makes the unified field stronger, that it looks for other individuals that could receive. But every time another individual joins it, the bar kind of gets moved. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if there is an increase in consciousness, there is going to be a decrease in consciousness. Okay? So for the evil that is running this world, it is for them to ensure that people stay in a state of low consciousness, and they use fear. And for the good in the world, they want to raise consciousness to counteract it, you see? To overcome it. And this is a battle that they can't win. And they know that. Now, the problem with fighting, one of the things I learned as a soldier is that if you're going to go up against an enemy, leave him in an escape route. Because if you trap an enemy in a corner, they'll fight to the death. It's just the way things are. I have that mentality as well. If I'm trapped in a corner, well, not now, but back then, if I was trapped in a corner and there was no escape, fuck it. I'm going to take as many people with me as I can. Because that's the animalistic nature. Now, these people are psychopaths. And they want to ruin it for everybody. They want to take, because they've got no chance. They're fucking done and they know it. So they want to take as many with them as possible. That's their harvest. Do you see? Whereas the universe doesn't operate like that. It will meet you halfway. Halfway is meditation. Medi means middle, halfway. But this is the problem with free will. You know, it's up to the individual. And those that are not interested, well, they've had their reward of life, and that's it. It's, they've used their name in vain. So, Black Rock. Oh, what a surprise. It's all owned. The only thing they don't own or can't own is your spirit, your consciousness. But if the ego is not aware of its spirit, then they own the mind. They own the ego. Do you see what's going on? So these people that have just been swept along and done what the government's told them, they haven't chewed the cud, they haven't considered anything. They swallow everything whole like a filthy swine. Do you see how sad this is? And that's all biblical. Some people, you'll tell them, and they'll get it, and they start responding, but then they return back to their own vomit, like a dog. It's like Cypher in the Matrix. I just want a big steak. Reinserted. It is what it is.